was born in a construction vehicle. No one can match my control. Ah! Look here! Who do you think I am? Hayato Kongo.
Yeah, I don't even know where to start with this one. Sometimes you come across a game that's just not very good at all. But there's a lot going on that's interesting. BCV, Battle Construction Vehicles, is almost one of those cases. It doesn't get there all the way, yet at the same time it makes it hard to look away from it. This is by far the worst game I've covered on this channel, but still, this is a game I think people should experience anyway. BCV follows Hayato Kongo, a young man forced to inherit his father's construction company, doing what he can to stop the evil rival construction company from taking up all of the city's contracts, the only way he knows how, by finding the best construction workers in town and then forcing them to join by defeating them in combat using construction vehicles.
Your machine is weeping! Come on! Come on! Come on! Come on! Your machine, get out of here!
The story is told through visual novel cutscenes and some animations here and there. It's actually quite impressive that this game even has animated cutscenes and key moments because the visual novel segments are usually played out in complete silence. There's no ambient noise, music, or voice acting in there for pretty much the entire duration of the game. Not even fluff dialogue options that change nothing. It is very sterile and kinda painful to look at, especially when you just start playing the game. At times it feels like you're going through one of those old browser-based manga using a Flash app. It's not great. And then sometimes it just pulls out these amazing cutscenes out of nowhere, which are fantastic. The combat isn't much better than the visual novel presentations. This is an arena fighting game with construction vehicles. All vehicles get 3 face buttons for regular moves and a defensive move that puts steel girders around your machine. These moves work, sometimes. Sometimes they even keep working when your hands are off the controller. And in the rare cases that they do actually work as intended, it's hard to understand how these moves are supposed to help you. BCV has some of the least responsive controls that I've ever experienced in any video game. Even regular movement has a lot of issues with inputs. Sometimes, while trying to reverse and turn at the same time, the game forgets that you're trying to go backwards and starts moving your vehicle forward instead. The same happens when trying to turn in place. Sometimes this works, other times it decides that you pressed forward on the D-pad even though you really didn't. The result is a bit close to what you'd get when real-life construction vehicles would fight. It's clunky, awkward, and probably not as fun for the drivers as it is for random onlookers. For most of the game, you're just ramming your vehicle into the opponents and pray that you're doing more damage to them than they do to you. Now, you might wonder why I'm even covering a game like this, or why anyone would play this game. And that's because Battle Construction Vehicles is a hot-blooded shonen action story that takes some extremely absurd twists and turns along the way. For instance, the combat actually has a revenge mechanic, presented with a rope hovering above your health meter. The more you're pressured, the tighter the rope gets pulled until it snaps, and when it snaps, you only need to get the enemy's vehicle within your vehicle's range before the circle disappears, which, considering how most combat goes the entire game, is pretty much guaranteed to happen. And then you get these extremely goofy super animations that feel like Yakuza Heat moves in terms of absurdity. It's this level of absurdity that a lot of the visual novel sections operate on too. Hayato is a stereotypical combat idiot who happens to lead a construction crew of justice, fighting against an evil rival group in order to work with a contractor who keeps setting them up to fight each other. The stakes couldn't be any lower, but everything is a dead serious matter of life and death. New hires often show up as enemies, unwilling to join Hayato's crew, but are forced to join after being bested in combat, expanding the cast using the jump system. Somewhere along the way, we even get a Go-Go 13 Boys Love parody who will do anything for money, and I really mean anything. Even operating heavy construction machinery to stop you from signing a deal with a contractor. It's incredibly endearing. Oh, and that footage that I opened the video with, that's how the game starts before even hitting the title screen. This might possibly be the strongest opening for any game of all time. And then the title screen that it leads towards might also be one of the best title screens of all time too. Battle Construction Vehicle's story is only about an hour or so to play through. There isn't much to it. The gameplay is garbage, and most of the presentation isn't very good either, but it's got that shonen fighting spirit and doesn't waste too much of your time. So, if you're in the mood for something different, something that lets you say you defeated a Shiba Inu driving a construction vehicle, then maybe give this game a look. Speaking of giving things a look, let's look at this video's Patreon poll. I asked people supporting the channel who they'd got in a fight, a forklift or an excavator. And the excavator won by a landslide. I find that interesting because I think a forklift would get in there and flip the excavator before it could respond, because forklifts are really fast. You'd think that it's bullshit when you see them move in video games, but real ones actually move faster. It's kind of insane to see, actually. As always, this video was brought to you by people supporting the channel on Patreon. If you would like to become one of the names you see scrolling on the screen right now and vote in future polls, head over to patreon.com/AboveUp, and I will see ya.